Hey everyone, in today's video, I'm going to walk through the steps I take to teach my K-2 students how to write personal narratives. After we launch our writing workshop, personal narratives is usually the first unit I will teach to my kids, so some of the lessons I include here might be a little bit different than ones I would include later in the year. I'm going to share a lot of pictures of the graphic organizers and anchor charts and things like that that I actually use when teaching this unit, and I thought by kind of explaining a little bit about each lesson and giving you a visual, it would help you see how you might do it in your own classroom. And just so everybody knows, all of the pictures that I end up showing, those are actual lessons that I include in my SJT writing club. I will link that down below in the description in case you would like to join. Just so you know, it is only open during the summertime, so it would be closed right now, but if it's something you're interested in, you can go ahead and hop on the waitlist to learn more about it. All right, let's dive into some of these lessons. Give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and let's go. All right, lesson number one when teaching your students about small moments is to start small. In this lesson, you will want to teach your students what a personal narrative really is, and I like to use an anchor chart to help do that, so I will show them that this is what a personal narrative is. And I explain in this unit that if I'm making it myself, like I have done here, where I actually drew this myself, I will actually add each section as we learn about it. So I will say that a personal narrative is a story that is something that has really happened to you, and it zooms in on a small moment. And then I'll leave the rest of that anchor chart blank until we kind of teach that part of a personal narrative. Now, in case you don't want to draw it in the club, I also go ahead and share a digital one that looks like this that you could simply print out. Now, to help illustrate what a personal narrative is, I like to read a mentor text and let students know that as we read the story, I want them to notice how the story as a whole focuses on one small moment and not a big, larger moment. I've shared a few mentor texts in the past that I love. The video looks like this one, and I go into each book, but the two books I love to use for this are Kitchen Dance and The Night of the Veggie Monster. Both of those mentor texts really focus in on one specific point in time, and after we read that mentor text, I like to model picking some examples of small moments from my life and differentiating them from larger ones. For example, I will say, a larger moment might be going apple picking with my family. But if I zoom into a small moment there, I could write a story about picking an apple with Calvin, helping him pick an apple from the tree. Another example would be, instead of writing about my whole day at work, I might zoom in and write a story about how I spilled my coffee on my pants during my day of work. Or if I spent the last weekend going to the beach, I don't want to write a story about that whole day. I might zoom in to the part where I helped my son Theo build a sandcastle instead of writing about the whole beach day. After I've modeled picking out a few small moments in my own life, I like to use an organizer, a brainstorming sheet like this one right here, where students can go ahead and brainstorm some of their own small moments they might want to write about. You can see I have times I felt blank, and this you can either choose a feeling for the whole class. Feelings, they tend to bring about different memories with our students, so they can think of a time they felt sad or a time they felt mad. You could also leave it blank and they can write down different moments for different emotions. They can write about different family moments that they've had and zoom into smaller ones, something surrounding the holidays, and of course things that have happened in school. This lesson might be one that spans over 2 days instead of just one, depending on how long your writing block is, but the whole point of this lesson is to really tell your students what a small moment personal narrative is going to be and have them try to identify some small moments that they can write about themselves. Lesson number 2 is say and sketch. If you have watched my writing videos before, you know I love using this strategy, especially with my younger students, and even more especially at the beginning of the year. The say and sketch sheet looks like this, and this is where students will actually pick one of those brainstormed ideas and start their story. To do it, they're going to say aloud their story first, and then they're going to sketch it into 3 parts: first, then, and finally. Now, naturally, I would always model how to do this in front of the class, so here's an example of my modeled one where I would tell students what I was doing as I went to the beach. So I even share that what I would say and how I would sketch it. I say, I'm going to write about when I built a huge sandcastle at the beach. First, I took my pail to the ocean and filled it with water. Then I brought it back and got the sand wet. I put the sand in a few different shaped pails and turned them upside down. Finally, when I lifted the pail up, they created little castles. I kept going until I made a huge sandcastle. It's also important to note that during the sketching aspect, you don't want them spending a ton of time actually drawing with crayons. This is just to get their ideas out on paper. So I would explain to them that we are going to pick a topic to write about, and today we're going to say our story aloud so we can get it into the beginning, middle, and end, and then we will sketch it to start our story. Lesson number 3 is to stretch it out. I teach my students after they've done their say and sketch. So they've already, said their story aloud. They have drawn the basic beginning, middle, and end. Now we are going to put some words to our paper. Again, you'll always want to model this. So for this, I explain that for each of the say and sketch boxes, we are going to take that many pieces of paper. So I'm going to take 3 pieces of lined paper, and I let my students know that the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read my picture. So basically what I said aloud yesterday, but I'm gonna say what's happening in the picture aloud and then write it down exactly like that on my paper. Now, it may not sound exactly like it did the first time because again, I was kind of flushing out those ideas and figuring out what I wanted to draw. And now that I have those drawings, I can start writing and then I can expand on it. So here's an example of what it would look like after I take all 3 of my picture boxes from say and sketch and write down a sentence for each one on my pages. Okay, so now students have brainstormed, they've kind of planned out their story through drawing it, and they've actually written down some pages to go in order. So now I want students to go back in and make sure they've added some transition words. Now, before we do that, I like to use an anchor chart like this one to explain what transition words are and how they help connect ideas and guide the reader from one part of the story to the next. Now, I also point out that on that say and sketch sheet, they did already have some transition words, but here are some more examples if they wanted to use them in the beginning, the middle, and the ends of their stories. After I show them what transition words are, I will either read a mentor text and highlight some of the transition words that are inside it, or I will go back into my story that I was already doing like I showed you yesterday with the 3 pages, and I will add some of my own transition words as well. And when doing that, I would actually reread the sentences I already have aloud, and I would model adding another sentence to that, just so students can see that today they don't need to just add a transition word, but they can add more to their story to help clarify things for the reader as well. You can see how I did that in red right here, and you can see where I added another sentence and I added some words to just make my story a little bit more interesting. When your students see you doing that to your own writing, it inspires many of them to go and add something else to theirs. Lesson number 5 is to go ahead and add some character details. Now, if we look back at that anchor chart for personal narratives, you can see that you are the main character and you have thoughts, feelings, words, and actions. Now, I definitely don't have students add all 4 of those on one day, so I like to spread it out and give students options. But on the first day, I like them to think about their feelings, their actions, and some of the thoughts they may have had during this personal moment. So when modeling this, I like to make sure that I show my students how they can add these types of details to their illustrations along with their words. So they can really do either. So here you can see I added some walking action lines because that was my action, of course. I was walking to the beach to fill up the water. And then I also added a thought bubble here where I said, this castle is amazing, because clearly I'm so proud of myself. And wait a second, being proud of myself is another emotion, so I added another page to say I was proud of myself. You can see with each of these lessons, I'm giving students a way to add more to their story through either the illustrations, well, actually not either, through the illustrations and through the words, however they choose to do that. It gives students a lot of choice within their writing to be able to choose to add to the pictures or to the words, and it also just takes a little bit of that scariness of writing at the beginning of the year away from them. With lesson 6, I like to go into character speech. So here I like to explain that we also say some words, and I want students to think about, I want them to put themselves in that small moment that they had into their personal narrative. And I want them to think about if they said anything or if any of the people around them said anything. And we'll think how we can add that to our story. Now, just like I said in the previous lesson, students can do this through the illustrations or through the words. So here I drew a speech bubble on the first page that says, "Mom, I'll be right back," because I explained to them when modeling that my mom was there and I had to tell her that I was going to the actual water, because when I was younger, I had to tell my mom where I was going. And then if you wanted to extend this, you can also teach students when they write it down in their story how they can add quotation marks around the words that were said themselves. So here I added another sentence at the end that said, "That's when I heard my brother say, uh-oh," because in the story I explained to my kids that my brother actually destroyed my sandcastle. So that's where that uh-oh is going. Now, just to take a quick pause, you might be thinking, it is September, Susan. My students cannot, write with quotation marks and all this fancy stuff. But remember, these types of lessons in each of your units, you're really going to be teaching a lot of the same things. You're going to be teaching them how to add character details. You're going to teach them to add dialogue to their texts. Not all your students are going to use quotation marks perfectly. That's totally fine. You can still teach them how to use it and model how to use it. Some of your students will get it, and this way when you actually teach them it again, either in October or November, whenever you add this into your writing again, it won't be brand new. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, we did that in personal narratives." You can reference back. It's also great for a writing portfolio if in September they didn't use it correctly, to show how they finally got it in November or January or whenever they finally got it. All right, in lessons 7 and 8, I really like to talk about the illustrations. So lesson number 7 is talking about adding background details to our illustrations. This lesson really helps students think about the setting of their story, and I like to have them use their 5 senses to kind of walk through what they saw when they were there, what they smelled, what they touched. Walk through those 5 senses and see what they can add to their illustrations to help show those different things. And a great mentor text for this is actually Those Shoes by Maribeth Boltz. You can choose a couple pages or even read the whole thing with your students and kind of talk about the different background details in the setting that is going on and how that adds to the story. Here are some examples I added to my own story so you can see. And it says, "I could feel the hot sun." So obviously when I'd be modeling this, I would be going through the 5 senses myself, and I would draw those quick things into my illustration. And I said I could feel the wet sand, so I drew a little puddle around my feet. I also could hear the seagulls and I could see them in the sky, so I drew some birds here. All these little background details give the reader just a little bit more information about your story. With lesson number 8, I like to talk about what good illustrations generally look like, and I use an anchor chart like this one, and this is a lesson I really teach only probably once or twice at the beginning of the year, and this is just to emphasize that the picture should match the words, which we've already done because we started with our picture, that we can add texture and details to our drawings, our characters should have some emotion on the face, that we color inside the lines, and that we add labels when needed. To emphasize this, you can really hold up any picture book and just show how the illustrator has taken their time with the drawings, how they've colored in as neatly as they can. We're kind of talking a little bit about publishing details when we get to this point, but I want students to know what makes a good illustration and just to try their best. When modeling this, you can see I showed them how to draw some texture in the sand, just showing that I could draw some little dots. This is that 4th page where my brother actually went ahead and toppled down my castle, and so I actually drew my brother here saying uh-oh, like it said in the words itself. You can see the expression on my face. I am sad, I have red cheeks, maybe I'm feeling angry. And I also explained that there are things around us. It's not just me and my sandcastle in the whole scene, so I can add those little details like a picnic basket and a blanket. And again, I added my brother in there. So when students go back to their own seats that day, they will think about just the other things that were in their scene on each page and add it to their story. All right, and last but not least, we have editing and publishing. With every single writing unit that I teach, I have my students go through their own editing checklist, and their own publishing checklist to go along with each unit. So for the editing checklist, they look the same throughout the year. It looks like this. And students simply have to go through, make sure their sentences start with capital letters. Did they use the word wall or something else to help them with their tricky words? Are there spaces between the words? Do the sentences end with punctuation? And did I reread my writing so that it makes sense? Just like some of the other lessons I mentioned earlier, this step of editing is not going to be perfected in September. You are supposed to teach it to students though, so they have exposure to it, so they try it out. And so as they continue to do it with each unit, they understand two things. They understand that number one, when you are writing, you also need to edit your work. That is part of the process. And number two, they become better at it. They become better at checking their sentences and looking for those spaces. That will happen naturally with time if you keep teaching your students these things each and every time you write. And lastly, we have our publishing checklist that looks like this. Again, these are different for each and every unit. This one is specific to personal narratives. So it says, is my personal narrative a story about something that happened to me? Is it focused on a small moment? Does it have beginning, middle, end? Did I use the transition words? Did I add character dialogue, thoughts, feelings, and or actions? And then did I go through my editing checklist? So you can see that each of those things on there are lessons that I actually taught my students how to do, so it should be included. And then the last two were just, are the illustrations as neat as they can be, and is the writing as neat as it can be? So there you can see 10 of the main lessons I teach when teaching students how to write a personal narrative from beginning to end. Those were the exact modeled lessons and examples that I include in the SJT Writing Club. And at the end of that unit, I also have some bonus things in case you want to expand on your personal narrative writing unit and add just some more fun things into your stories. But you can also stop it there and then go on to opinion writing or whatever your next unit is going to be, because like I said, a lot of those same types of lessons are going to be included in the future units as well, and students will just get better at them and see how they differ genre to genre. I hope that gives you an in-depth look of how to teach personal narratives to your own students or give you some ideas that you may not have used in the past. If this was helpful to you, please give this video a thumbs up. Let me know which lessons you liked or what you want to try this year with your class. Leave it down in the comments. Also, let me know if you want to see an in-depth kind of walkthrough of these lessons for another genre. I can see if I can do that for you. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up so I know. Make sure you are subscribed to my channel and click that bell. That way you're notified of every new video. And just so you know, for more writing tips, you can see my writing playlist right here. I have tons of mentor text suggestions and other writing tips over there for K through 2. See you in the next one. Bye.